In today's video, I'm going to show you guys the branding and web design process of Pigeon Post. Pigeon Post is the #1 pigeon delivery company in the UK. Technically it doesn't exist, but for the purpose of this video, let's just jump right in. So let's get started with the branding. Now this is something I don't usually cover in these videos, but I had this idea that I wanted to flesh out for the logo. I initially sketched this down on a piece of paper, but the idea is it's a pigeon and it's also an envelope. When it comes to branding, often the simplest idea is going to be the most effective. And you'll see from the concept that I create here, we simplify it even more once we get into the website design. Now I know this is looking completely insane right now, but it will all make sense once we separate some of the shapes out. Like this. Now we'll just quickly explore some type and color options, and there we have it. That is a logo for Pigeon Post, done very quickly, but this will do the job for now. Now it's time for the website. So I've made a basic frame. Here I am making a 12-column grid. This just helps me keep everything in check. Now using ChatGPT, let's flesh out this hero section. I have this idea that there'll be these carrier pigeons carrying these boxes around for the hero. So I've just generated 2 images there, one with a plain blue sky and then one with pigeons. Now we'll get back to this in a minute, but for right now I'm just making a simple navigation at the top and a login/sign up button on the top right. Now just to get an idea of composition, I do this very rough right now just to see if the idea is going to work. Getting the birds positioned on the screen and adding in some of these PNG clouds which really bring it to life. I asked ChatGPT to give me 10 creative hero taglines for Pigeon Post and it came up with these. I quite like this one, taking messages under our wings, so we're going to add that right in and we're going to make a booking box. I think having this the most prominent thing when you come to the site makes sense because that's probably what most users are going to want to do. Here I'm just making some basic input boxes for the search query, and let's just speed this up as I do all the other search boxes. It's largely just copy and paste once you've kind of defined what one element should be, and then just making sure you can get that all spatially positioned. And that's that. So just some last final touches on the box. I want to add in another headline, this time asking ChatGPT for a header 2, a subtitle that fits in a booking box, and I quite like this one here, schedule a flight, no boarding pass needed. And let's add in that branding icon. Now I think that's starting to look pretty good, so we're going to jump into Photoshop and we're going to cut these birds out to do a better version of this because, you know, we only did it rough before. We know it works. Now I feel confident enough to spend the time to cut these birds out, get them positioned, and then we're going to have our hero section looking pretty sweet. Quick adjust of the clouds. Now the clouds are great for just adding depth. We'll make our send button red, and we're going to add this gradient just at the top because I feel like we don't have enough contrast with the navigation and the button on the blue background, so this makes it a bit more readable. We're going to bring back in our main headline and see if we can make that work, because I did like how that was looking before, but I wasn't sure if we wanted to have more focus on the booking box. But I think having 2 headlines does work, but we just need to find the right balance and hierarchy of everything, so that's what I'm doing here. And there we have our hero section of Pigeon Post. So moving on to the rest of the site, I want to make the hero section seamlessly blend with the next section, so I'm using the clouds to kind of mask into this gradient that we have for the second section. I want this section to be a fairly simple bento looking area. I have these 2 call to actions in mind, one being the coverage of the area, somewhere you can put in your postcode and check if they cover it, and another being the Speedy pigeon next day delivery. I created this map graphic just in Figma using simple shapes and blending modes, and I think that's looking quite good. So we're going to add a little pill to the top of this box, play with some gradients, play with some colors. Now typically when I'm designing something like this, everything I'm doing, I do it quite loose, a little bit rough to begin with, because I might get a cool idea with some other section that kind of defines how this section should be changed. So I don't like to have anything too solid in the beginning until I've kind of got everything down on the page. So you'll see me going back and forwards a lot as we do this design, kind of changing things as we go. Now it's time for the Speedy Pigeon next day delivery box. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to generate me an image of a speedy looking pigeon, and this is exactly what I had in mind. I'll just quickly cut that out in Photoshop. I'm also going to generate an image of a street because I have this very specific composition in mind, and you'll see it come to life here. Working on little graphics like this and creative descriptive imagery is just one of my favorite things when it comes to web design, because this is what makes your designs actually come to life. For the last box in this section, I want to have something for Pigeon Post Business. Now this would be for business accounts, typically for people sending large volume of orders. So I think having a box for that on the homepage makes sense. I actually really struggled with the design of this box, so I'll speed this up a lot. You know, sometimes when you're designing something, you have something in mind and you can just kind of fulfill that. Sometimes when you're designing something, like me in this case, I didn't really know what I wanted it to look like, so I was kind of just designing until I kind of found that thing. And by the end of it, we got somewhere that I'm somewhat happy with. I don't know why this was such a difficult section for me to do. Moving on to the next and final section of the website, really, I wanted to have this top flyers of the month section for the pigeons. Now this is a leaderboard of sorts. It's quite silly, but after all, this is a completely fictional project, so let's do it. We're almost done now. Now I'm going to add in some testimonials. I'm just going to add in a flat graphic from Trustpilot because there's no point recreating the whole thing right now. I have this concept where the bottom of the website is going to flow into this grass section, kind of connecting the sky with the ground. So using Photoshop just to expand the image out and then try find a way to make this blend. Now I actually end up just cutting off a lot of the sky here and then having the booking box right at the bottom just before this footer that we're making. This footer, I'm just copying links from some competitor sites just to quickly get some information down on there. And lastly, just a little service indicator for the last column in the footer. And that's it. Now that we've got everything down on the page, I'll go do some final touches, just making sure that everything is super polished, clean, where it should be, and all works with each other. And with that, we have the full Pigeon Post website. If you guys like this video, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and leave me some suggestions of what other websites I should do in the next video. Give me a follow on X if you're on it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.